Hello, my name is William Kumwembe and this is Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. And in the program today, no jab, no job. We look at practicality of mandatory COVID vaccination and its possible impact in the world of work. Also in the program, we speak to financiers of the new road project in Lilongwe, which intends to facelift the administrative capital. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. This is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. And in our main story in the program today, COVID-19 has affected most sectors of the economy as players and other key stakeholders are championing measures of trying to contain it. One of the ways that has been devised lately is the vaccination drive. However, there are some calls by some sectors and precisely firms that there be some mandatory vaccination of staff for the sake of safety of others and continuity of businesses. But the question is, how practical and viable is the suggestion? Our journalist, Gary Samat, has been speaking to some players in the industry and has since filed this report.
In December 2019, the first COVID case was confirmed in China's Wuhan province. By then, little did we know that the disease could not only turn into a contagion, but harshly also change everything around us, including the world of work. First was adoption of the working from home policy by firms as a way of containing the pandemic, which was spreading like bushfire. But at the time prospects are good. Thanks to a massive rollout of vaccination, debate has ensured over the need for mandatory immunization, especially at workplaces. Firms have moved to encourage staff to go for a jab. But both beliefs and myths seem to have stood in the way. That to an extent, others are pushing for a mandatory vaccination. Patrick Liwayo is an employee of Mackenzie Associates in Commercial City, Blantyre, and he recently got his jab.
To be realistic, I don't have any problem working with people who have not yet been vaccinated because I still believe that I'm safe. After all, most of the time I wear masks, except this time because we are interviewing me, okay? But working with people that have not yet been vaccinated, I don't have any problem because it's their choice not to do so. I think it would be a very bad entry point to say that because just to say that they should not go to work because they have not been vaccinated without having any legal backing on the same, definitely it would be violating other people's rights because they have the right to choice. So I think it's not good to force them to vaccinate. This is against their conscience. So I don't think it's good.
Integrated Mobile and ICT Services Provider, TNM, is one of the local firms encouraging staff to go for a jab. Its chief executive officer is Arnold Mbwana.
Looking at the impact of COVID-19 on the businesses as well as the people, both the employees and the customers. As TNM, we have taken a position where we are basically encouraging our employees to be vaccinated. However, when we are talking about encouraging, it means, first of all, we have provided opportunities for the employees to understand what is the virus and what is the vaccine and what indeed is required for them. Secondly, we have also provided an opportunity for them to take a day off. They will not have to apply for leave. They will take a day off over the next 10 days or so, and then they can make a decision to be vaccinated or not. And one key issue is that vaccination for TNM is not a condition of employment. We are not forcing anyone to be vaccinated. What we are saying is, for those of you that need time off to get the job, we are providing you a free day off to be vaccinated.
But what is the view of employers on mandatory vaccination? Employers Consultative Association of Malawi Chief Executive Director is George Kaki.
First of all, let us start from the beginning. We know the COVID-19 pandemic has had devastating effects on the economy. At first, it was a health issue. It now turned into an economic issue to the extent that I think many companies have been particularly hit hard. in certain sectors. And therefore, as to the issue as to whether COVID-19 vaccination should be mandatory, we should look at the impacts that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on the economy. But at the same time, we should also be looking at the laws that govern health and safety in the workplace. In this instance, we are talking about the Occupational Safety, Health and Welfare Act that was enacted in Malawi, which mandates both employers and employees to take measures that will protect the workplaces as well as people that come into the workplace. On the other side, I think on this one we are saying we are looking at protecting the workplaces from any infections or spread of any infections. But regarding the COVID-19 vaccine, I think we should also look and address the fears that many employees, including many people in the country and the world over, have with regard to the COVID-19 vaccine, which seems to be interesting.
But the government stance remains. People should not be forced to get the jab in exchange of a job. As of Tuesday, at least 405,000 people in the country have been vaccinated. Criticism arose in Kenya as a confidential circular issued to all principal secretaries and accounting officers ordered it mandatory for public servants to receive the COVID jab. Further, Uganda has made vaccination for teachers mandatory. Should Malawi borrow a leaf? This remains the debate.
Now, on Tuesday, President Lazarus Chakwera unveiled a landmark road project in Lilongwe that would facelift the administrative capital. The project would be financed with locally generated resources through a bond, and two key financiers are Standard Bank and Old Mutual Malawi. We caught up with Standard Bank Chief Executive Philip Madinga to find out how the bank feels to be part of the landmark project.
Thank you very much. We actually very excited. I'm excited to be part of this important project which the state president was launching today, which is the expansion of Kenyatta Drive and the Nzimba Street. As a bank, we've been mandated to raise funding for this project, or these two roads, to the tune of 40 billion kwacha. We're working in partnership with our fellow financiers, Old Mutual. I think for us, this is a very, very important project, because if infrastructure development is key to the economic growth of this country, and by us participating in this project reaffirms our commitment towards our purpose, which is that Malawi is our home and we drive our growth. Wherever you go in this world, whether globally or regionally, infrastructure development is key to the economic growth of any country. We also believe in partnerships. That's why you see us working together with Old Mutual and many other partners in terms of implementing this particular project. At Standard Bank, we say it can be Ndizoteka.
And also from Lilongwe, our journalist Taonga Sabola caught up with Edith Gia, who is Chief Executive Officer for Old Mutual Malawi.
Thank you very much. The Roads Fund Authority went out on the market looking for arrangers. Ourselves, in partnership with Standard Bank, expressed interest. We are going to be the arrangers for the 30 billion kwacha bond. Essentially, what we are doing is to advise, set up the structure of this transaction to finance the construction of the works that have been officially launched today. As Old Mutual, it is a great honor and a privilege to be part of this team. We believe as a corporate citizen, it is also our responsibility, whilst we are doing business, to ensure that we invest properly on behalf of our clients. It is also our duty to develop this country. And an initiative of this nature is just part of our strategy to be involved and engaged in infrastructure developments across the country.
Remember, this is Business Time, a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country. We'll be right back, and when we get back, Eskom laments rising cost of new connectivity. That's when we get back inside Business Time. Welcome back. The Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM, says it is spending over 186,000 kwacha as a subsidy for each new connectivity. This is an amount so high as compared to what customers are paying, which is about 96,000 kwacha. This was revealed recently when ESCOM officials engaged some media practitioners in Blantyre. Our journalist Justin Mkwe was there and has since filed this report.
Speaking during the interaction, ESCOM Senior Manager for Commercial and Customer Services, Wiseman Kambwazi, said the reduction is the single-phase connection in which new customers may pay for a standard connection fees, but ESCOM has to beef up the difference through tariffs. Kambwazi added that the idea of charging lower is to make the connection affordable and to connect more customers, but there have been challenges because the tariff is not adequate enough to provide for financing gap.
The issue has been is when our customers pay for single-phase connections, especially in urban and major rural centers, they pay what we call a standard charge, which is called Namages. It's 93,200 kwacha per connection. That charge, that is just a charge, it's not a cost. The actual cost of providing that service is much more than that. Actually, the average cost of providing the service is 282,000 kwacha. ESCOM has to beef up the difference. And this difference has to come through the tariff. Okay, and there have been challenges in terms of the tariff is not adequate enough to provide this financing gap. And even when the funds in the tariff are made available for ESCOM to meet the financing gap, is only on paper, because ESCOM is required to source these funds from financing institutions, connect those customers, and go back to the regulator to ask for it to be considered to be incorporated in the tariff. So it's that financing gap that has been a major challenge for ESCOM to seek source financing to meet up the financing gap for each component in the connection with the customer. The whole idea of charging much lower is to make the connection charge as affordable as possible to end user customer, so that we can connect more customers, and that way we can increase the access in the country, which is just barely 13%. So it's a good idea, but what we need to is to work on the issue of the financing gap. Is quite huge for ESCOM to bear as of now, and the seeking funding, sourcing funding has been a challenge for ESCOM. If this issue can be addressed, obviously we'll have everyone on current in terms of new connections. ESCOM has been going through financial challenges. I think you know some of them. These have been resolved, but as of now, it's been difficult for ESCOM to source more funds for its projects. Yeah, we have received funding. The government of Malawi has received funding from World Bank, $150 million, specifically for connecting customers. These are the single-phase customers. It's called the Electrification Access Project, Malawi Electrification Access Project. So the work is underway as of now. In terms of procurements of the materials, we're expecting by early next year the works will have started in terms of connecting customers using the World Bank. This will reduce the backlog, the number of customers we are talking about who are waiting for connections, because most of them will benefit from the World Bank project.
Energy expert Grain Malunga said if the subsidy is not working, then it should be removed unless there is someone who will pay for the subsidy. He added that they should look at their operations as a business and not a charity. Therefore, whoever bought the subsidy should fund it, otherwise it should be removed from their operations. Kambwazi added that they have engaged a list of pre-qualified contractors who can offer the services to their customers with ESCOM supervision. Kambwazi further said that this will help to reduce the workload which the company has and fast-track power connections to some customers who have been on the waiting list for long.
The way forward for ESCOM is basically to get as much resources as we can. There are already a lot of things underway now. We had delays in terms of procurements of materials. There are a lot of materials that are underway in terms of to have these customers connected. And as I've said, we are also looking at how we can optimize our current resources, that we can connect as many customers as possible, outsourcing some of the services that we're doing as one way of making sure that customers are connected. So there's quite a lot that is happening on the ground now. The only worry is that it has taken long. These customers have waited for quite some time, and we really need to act as fast as possible. Things are changing out there. Customers are not looking for quick service, and Eskom is gearing itself for the quicker service to provide its customers. Yeah, we had some challenges internally in terms of us doing everything as an organization. We think this is the time now we can allow customers to do some of the things on our behalf as participation in terms of service provision. This is why now we have a list of pre-qualified contractors which customers can approach. They can also procure materials on their own and basically do the work with our supervision. This means now we are having a lot of people now out there doing the connection works, which will ease the burden that Eskom has in terms of doing the connection works, even procuring huge amounts of materials. So basically Eskom is becoming more streamlining, leaner in its operations and allowing more players on the market to assist it in terms of providing the service to its customers.
Commenting on the arrangement, Mzuzu University energy expert Maxon Chitao said the arrangement does not suit the Malawian setup. Chitao added that this arrangement will only increase the gap between the rich and the poor because it is only the rich who will manage, and it is like Eskom is getting free things because the property remains Eskom's property. Eskom has 45,196 outstanding electricity connection applications across the country.
Now, moving on to other business news. The country has recently been championing mindset change as a way towards attaining sustainable economic development. One of the key things that Malawians have to do is ensure that we desist from heavy reliance on handouts, which cripples chances for economic growth and development of individual members of the country. Audrey Mara, who is Chief Executive Officer for Sikama Concert, says Malawians should take the right route if we are to attain the wealth creation for all aspiration embedded in the Malawi 2063. She was speaking recently at a forum where the company hosted for several other players in the economy to finding ways of attaining sustainable economic growth. She explains in this interview with our journalist, Justin Mkweu.
The main reason for creating this conference is to develop Malawi. We know that the wealth of individuals is what makes up the wealth of the nation. So as a country, we have seen that we are relaxed and we are okay with the poverty mentality because we've lived in it for a long time to a point that poverty has become normal. So what we want is to enlighten Malawians to know that there is better life. There is life of abundance where you have more than what you need. And this is where we want, because right now we are always busy thinking about how to get money in order to survive. And as a result, we don't think about how to develop our country because what we are thinking about is survival all the time. But we want to encourage Malawians to have a long-term thinking so that they create wealth in abundance, so that we now start thinking of other developmental things that are being thought about by people in other countries. So as you know, when you are hungry, you cannot think long term. You will be thinking about your hunger there. So now we want to kill that and create wealth creation avenues so that people have got more money than they need and they can think about developing this country to be like the developed countries around the world. Well, in terms of wealth distribution, actually what we are doing now is exactly that. What we are doing now, as you can see, we have taken people that they themselves have managed to create wealth. So because of that, we are now saying, don't just be the only ones that have got the wealth, but can you come and also share people the tips on what you did so that you get where you are, so that the people themselves can now also create their own wealth. In other words, if you look at what government does at the moment, they come up with programs that give people handouts. So when you give someone a handout, tomorrow they'll come again and they want more money. What we are doing is a different way where we're saying we want to give people not handouts, but we want to hand out tips. That's why we are giving them skills by giving them examples of what we and the speakers that were here have done to make a difference in their lives in the wealth creation journey. So we are distributing the wealth by giving people the means of how they themselves can create wealth. That's the wealth distribution. Wealth distribution is not about taking money and giving it to someone so that their life should be okay. They will not. The wealth distribution is a very complicated matter. Actually, it is about changing the person.
Well, on that note, we've also come to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time. It's a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories that are making headlines in the country. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe. Always remember, if it doesn't make money, then it doesn't make sense. Bye for now.